Welcome to the Skins and Games Management Video Trainer. When you have scored an event with hole-by-hole scores, you can create and manage side games for the event. When scoring with team hole-by-hole scores for teams greater than one-person teams, you can create team skins. But if the event is scored with individual hole-by-hole scores, regardless of the main event team size, you can create any number of side games for individuals or teams. Since our individual scores for players, in addition to gross and net individual skins, the Games icon will allow you to set up different teams with different scoring formats for each game, and with each game having a separate side game results and payoff reports. So when you select the Games icon, if there are no games created yet, you'll get an option to create a new game. Selecting the new game will open the Games Setup screen. There are many parts to the Games Management screen to enable a wide variety of games that can be created. The players' names will be listed in the Games Management screen with the main event team number showing in the main event team number column. There's also a sub-event team number column where you can actually change the team numbers to anything that you want them to be to change the team makeup for the sub-event. The sub-event Games Management screen also shows an index column and the sub-event handicap adjustment screen because you have the ability to actually create a different sub-event handicap adjustment. So from the handicaps icon, you have a similar show handicap screen, but this is to show a screen for creating a sub-event handicap, and it has all of the same capabilities of the main handicap adjustment screen depending on the team makeup. This is currently set for individual teams, but if you needed to create a team handicap adjustment for the sub-event, you'd first need to create sub-event teams. So if we use the teams icon to just renumber these teams to two-person teams, and we now have if you see the sub-event column, we now have two-person teams showing. So returning to the handicap screen, the handicap adjustment screen, you'll now see that the adjustment would enable a team handicap adjustment to be made because the sub-event is now a team sub-event. So I could, for example, enter a handicap adjustment of 35% of both the A and the B player and save that adjustment. We can then calculate handicaps to calculate a team adjustment. So if you notice in the handicap adjustment, we've now got a team handicap calculated for our two-person teams. You also note that there is a checkbox for each player called in sub-event, and what this checkbox does is allow you to take players out of a sub-event. For example, a skins game may only be certain players participating in the skins game, and it could be a flighted event and only you're creating a sub-event for each flight, so you would unselect all of the players not in the flight that you're working with, and from the players icon you have the option to show just your selected players for your event, or show all players, and to select all players or unselect all players is just a quick way to enable you to check or uncheck the players. So we'll go back and check them all again. There's also an option to include scores for certain holes or selected holes only for the event. So for example, I could create an event that was only the par 3 holes in an event, and the sub-event would then only look at the scores for the checked holes when computing the score results. So I could set up events for par 3 only holes, or par 5 only holes, par 4 only holes, whatever. And to notice that the sub-events have their own score calculation options, so I can change the scores to use depending on the team that I've created. If I created a two-person team, I may want to select an aggregate gross, 2 net. I may want to set up a Stableford event, and you have the other scoring options that are available to you from the main event as well, even the ability to set up formats on a hole-by-hole basis. And each game has its own purse setup capability, so I can set up any kind of a purse for a sub-event. And if the event was set to be a skins game, then you get a purse skins setup screen. The first thing to do with the sub-event is to give it a name. So we're going to call this our two-person gross event. And for this event, I'm going to sort the grid. Clicking on the top of any column will bring up the sort options. So I'm going to create a two-person team event combining the highest and lowest handicaps, and the next highest, next lowest, and so on. So I'm going to go down this sub-event team column and renumber the teams. So if I now sort by the sub-event, column, you can see that I've created two-person teams from the low and high handicappers. I can then go to the handicap adjustment screen and create a handicap adjustment for the sub-event using individual players' handicaps at, let's say, 85% of their handicaps, and 85% of their individual handicaps. Save that. Recalculate handicaps for the individuals to the sub-event handicap calculations. So you can see we now have sub-event handicap calculations, and I can set up a purse for this sub-event. So we'll set a contribution amount of $10 per player, and we'll set the purse payoff to be 50, 30, and 20 for a gross payout, and save that. So I'm going to set the score format to be 2 gross and 2 net, even though I'm only going to run a gross only report. So if I now go to the scores report and select gross only by gross, you can see the results for my two-person team makeup with the gross combined scores. And if we run the payout report, you can see the payoffs for the winning places. Then also run a net only report, since we've got net handicaps of, let's do a best ball. Let's create a new event. Actually, we'll create a new event, and we're going to call this two-person best ball. And we're going to use this same team makeup, so I need to renumber the teams again. So with our teams renumbered and the scoring format set to 1 gross and 1 net, we will run a scores report for net only sorted by net. And you can see the scores for the two-person teams, picking the best net ball for each team. So you can see from the games management utility there are a lot of capabilities for pretty much any kind of a game that you wanted to create. Many typical uses might be the main event is a 4-person Pro-Am, and I need to create a game of individual results, so it's easy to open up a sub-event and renumber the teams to singles when the main event is a 4-person team or 5-person team or whatever, and then be able to generate the individual results as well as create skins games for individuals from a main event, which might be a 4 or 5-person team or whatever. So to illustrate the skins games capabilities, we'll create another event. So we're going to create another new event, and we're going to call this Gross Skins. And we check the box to say yes, it is a skins game, which changes the purse setup to a skins purse setup, and we're going to set this to be a gross skin. So from the purse skin setup, let's say we have $5 contributions, people buy in for $5, and not everybody's playing in this skins game, so there's a few players that elected not to buy in to the game. So we can just remove those players and then only show the selected players. So just show my selected players. These are now my skins game players. And if I go back and look at my purse, you'll see that it's been reduced to $60 because not everybody was participating. So we can now just run a skins report to get the results for our skins game, and you can see the skins winners, the holes that they won the skins on, the score on the skins holes, and the payoff as it's split between all of the skins winners. Skins games also include a carryover option, and what that means is the purse amount would be divided by 18, with 1/18 of the purse amount being awarded on each hole if there's not a winner that carries over to the next hole, and so on. So just using the same event, if we run the skins game and report again with carryovers, you can see that there were no skins won on the first 3 holes. So the 4th hole, somebody did win a skin, and they won all the carryover amounts up to the 4th hole, and then skins were won on holes through 10. There's another carryover from 10 through 12, and so on. So that's how the purse works with carryovers. The last thing to point out with sub-events is the ability to re-import the players from the main event, or just new players from the main event. So if you have set up a skins game and made changes in the main event, in order for those changes to be applied to the skins game, you need to re-import the players into that event, and it would then update any changes for the particular game that you're working on. And this concludes the games management video. Thanks for watching.